Have you ever felt totally, completely trapped by loneliness? Or just wondered what it really means to connect with another person? If so, you're in the right place. We're about to explore a set of ideas that don't just, challenge our modern ideas about identity. They throw them right out the window and offer a radical new way of seeing yourself and your place in the universe.
And it all really starts with this question, a question we've all felt deep in our bones, belted out, of course, by the one and only Freddie Mercury. It's this cry from the very heart of the modern world, right? This deep, universal ache for connection in a world that so often just leaves us feeling profoundly alone. And the incredible thing is, the source material we're looking at today argues there's a real, powerful answer to this question. Okay, so let's get into it. Our journey starts by facing something our source calls the prison of self. And this is that widespread, almost unspoken belief that real freedom, true freedom, is found by being completely self-sufficient, completely independent from everyone else.
I mean, think about it. Our culture just loves the ideal of the lone self. This fortress of an identity that you have to defend at all costs, an independent, unburdened being that our source even calls a bit snobbish. But what if that's not the real story of who we are? What if there's another way to see it? This introduces a totally different idea, the relational self. A self that isn't something you own and protect, but something you give. A self that only, and I mean only, truly comes to life when it's connected with others. And this quote just nails the diagnosis. The real problem isn't that there's just a lack of connection out there. No, it's something way deeper. As the novelist Michel Houellebecq puts it, it's that we've become incapable of loving. This isn't just a feeling of being lonely. Our source argues it's an actual state of being, an ontological trap that we've fallen into. So, how in the world do we get out of this prison? Well, that brings us right to our second section, the communion revelation. And this is the central idea coming from the theologian John Zizioulas that just completely shatters that ideal of the isolated, lone individual. Okay, so this is the absolute key. Personhood, your very self, isn't something you're just born with, like it's all prepackaged and ready to go. No, it's an event. It's something that happens. You don't start out as a complete person who then maybe decides to have a relationship. It's the other way around. You actually become a person through the act of relating. Your identity is literally forged in that space between you and another. And let's be really clear here. Even though these ideas come from a theological source, what we're really talking about is a universal human problem. This isn't about any specific belief system. It's a deep dive into why we, as modern people, find it so incredibly hard to truly connect, to truly love. Now, the source uses the Eucharist as a kind of model for how this all works. But for a second, just forget everything you think about ritual. Think of it as an act of liberation. It's an event where a bunch of separate, isolated I's get transformed into a real, unified we. It's framed as this moment where we finally stop being just consumers of the world and actually learn, once again, how to love. Okay, so this idea of communion, it builds into something even more wild. Because to truly break out of the prison of the self, we also have to break out of the prison of our own past. And that means changing how we think about time itself. We usually think of time as just this flat line, right? The past is gone, the future isn't here yet, and we're just stuck in the middle. The source actually compares this to the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft, this vast, meaningless universe where we're just an accident. But it offers another way. Eschatological time. This is a view where the future isn't something you're just waiting for. It's something that is actively, right now, breaking into your present, filling it with purpose and a crazy amount of hope. And this leads to this really mind-bending idea called eschatological ontology. I know, it's a mouthful, but think of it like this. We always assume our identity is the sum of our past, right? All our mistakes, our failures, our history. This flips that completely on its head. It says your truest self, your real identity, isn't defined by where you've been. It's being given to you from a future that is already here. And when you see it that way, your past, your sins, your limitations, they just lose their power over you. Okay, so if we're not prisoners of ourselves, and we're not prisoners of our past, then what are we? This brings us to section 4, which is all about how these ideas completely redefine our purpose in the world, and what it even means to be free. I mean, modern life tells us one thing over and over: consume. The world is just a big pile of resources for us to use up. This philosophy it flips the script entirely. It says we're not called to consume, we are called to offer.
We're meant to take the stuff of the world, the material world, and instead of just using it, we give it back in this amazing act of love and thanksgiving. And when we do that, we become what the Source calls priests of creation. Now, when you hear all this, you might think of asceticism, and you probably picture, self-punishment and harsh denial. But we're being asked to just completely rethink that whole idea. See, in this view, asceticism is not about beating yourself up. Not at all. It's the training that frees you from the tyranny of your own wants, your own impulses. It's about learning to say no to yourself so that you can say a real, deep, authentic yes to another person. It's mastering yourself for the sake of true solidarity. And this all leads to a really radical act of love, the idea of taking the guilt of the other person onto yourself. It's a concept that Dostoevsky wrote about, this idea of universal responsibility. It's the ultimate rejection of individualism, isn't it? It says, no, we are so deeply connected that your struggle, your failure, even your guilt, it's mine too. So if our identity and our freedom are all found in connection, what does that mean for truth itself? Especially today in our, post-truth world, this next section offers a completely different way to figure out what's real. And again, notice the shift. The question isn't what you should believe. It's a much more basic question. How do you even know what's real to begin with? Especially when truth seems to be split between, on the one hand, cold, meaningless scientific facts, and on the other, just purely subjective feelings. And here's the answer this framework gives us. Truth isn't an object you can find in a lab, and it's not just a feeling you have inside yourself. In this view, truth is an event. It's something that only happens, something that is experienced between people in a real, living, authentic relationship. The band U2 kind of captured this paradox perfectly. Real communion, real love doesn't erase our differences. It actually needs them. The goal isn't to absorb the other person or become identical. It's to build a unity that completely respects and is even defined by the beautiful, irreducible otherness of the other person. So all of this, redefining ourselves, our past, our freedom, even truth itself, it all leads to one final, ultimate question. What does any of this say about the meaning of our existence? The Killers famously asked this in a song, and our source argues it's not a silly question at all. It's a desperate cry for meaning. In a world that often wants to reduce us to just a biological accident or a complex algorithm, what are we? Are we just a collection of matter, or is there something more going on? Are we just human, or are we dancer? And here it is, the core answer from this entire way of thinking. Being human isn't just a biological fact. It's not a substance you possess. It is an ecstatic event. And that word, ecstasis, it literally means to stand outside of oneself. Our very humanity is found in that dynamic, incredible act of going out of ourselves and into communion with another. So at the end of the day, the biggest takeaway is this. To be human is not a state of being, it's an act. It is the event becoming yourself, and that is something that can only ever happen in communion with another. So the question this leaves us with is a big one. Are you building a castle to defend, or are you offering a gift to be opened? Thanks for listening.